But closing off the house, obviously that was a huge chapter of OpTic. I know when we moved in, me and Rain spoke about it. Me and him had a lot of beef, like low key, a lot of jealousy, and like we kind of beefed in the house. And we didn't really have anyone. You know, we were all the same age. We had Sensei, who was a little older, a little wiser, would kind of
beat shit out of everyone.
Banks and Tommy, they're older, but I love you guys, but they didn't, no extra wisdom there with any of that stuff. Yeah. So like, we had beef and, we had to kind of navigate through it. Nate and Scump have definitely talked publicly about their beef, right? But like, how was that in the house, and how did you kind of like maneuver through that? Because again, they're both equally as big, both equally as important.
Absolutely.
And their egos probably started growing. And
dude,
what was that like?
It was asinine. It was ridiculous. And you can't explain that to men who are locked in a house, who are both equally, like, one of them is the most talented Call of Duty player that's ever touched a controller, and the other one is the most popular personality superstar that one of the first, if not the first ever superstar in our industry, right? With Nadeshot being sponsored by Red Bull, like he is him, right?
Yeah.
And I think the amount of fights, and I have videos, the amount of fights, and I will record them just so that they can see it afterwards, how stupid it was.
Yeah.
The most famous one is they're playing on Raid, and Scump gets like an insane gameplay, but Nadeshot also gets an insane gameplay.
In the same game.
In the same game, and they're playing together. And I'm like, why are you guys even playing together? Play separately if you guys don't want to do that. They both had it, and they're like, well, you can't upload that. I'm gonna upload mine. And I'm sitting in my chair thinking, both of you upload it. Upload it tomorrow. Upload it. Who cares? And they just wanted to go at each other like nonstop. I put an end. Like they never got physical, right? And like I separated them all the time. And I'm like, yo, sit down, shut. Like let's be reasonable here, right? And it's just impossible. So the vibes that we portrayed in front of the camera are real.
Yeah.
But there's also drama and bull happens behind the scenes that people didn't get to see at the time.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think that it's interesting having your personality thrown in the mix too, because I don't think you have really a high, like, you don't really put up with a lot of BS.
Tolerance.
So,
for that.
no tolerance, exactly. Yeah, no high tolerance for BS. So
I really have no room for tolerance when it comes to stupidity.
Yeah,
I don't even want to be involved in it.
Yeah.
But I had to. But it was good. I wouldn't change anything for them.
Yeah, I mean, that was like, arguably the biggest, one of the biggest eras of OpTic. Obviously, who we hope every year is bigger and bigger. But that was, that is what made OpTic what it is today, in my perspective, right? And I'm sure in your perspective, there's other eras that were maybe more important. But that's the cool thing about it. It's been around for so long that there's so many different eras to it.
Dude, OpTic came out of that house. Like a lot of
that was huge.
Yeah, big things. Hunting OpTic with Syndicate, and at the time Syndicate was what I'm saying? Like a lot of good things happened from the house.
That's a great point, because Minecraft servers, I remember hearing about them all the time and how much money they were printing. Is that why you guys did it?
We made $1 million in like a month.
That's insane.
And it was split between Andrew Peterman, who still works, he's the CEO of OpTic, Nate, and Big Timer and I, because we were the only ones. Seth and Merc were like, nah, we ain't about that.
They don't want to play Minecraft.
Nah.
So you guys were just making videos on it.
We're making videos. Like, listen, we provided a service that a lot of people were interested in. They paid for what they wanted to pay for, and we just provided that service. But the amount of it was ridiculous.
$1 million in a month. Was that like, did it keep going, or was it just a big few months?
It was like 400, 300. It kept going.
So I mean, because again, in my perspective, right, I wasn't into Minecraft.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say that there came a point in which we had to sort of step away from it a little bit, because Nadeshot, being the content genius that he is, was out there blowing up people's bases. And I'm like, yo, I know it's funny and it's good for content, but you got to think about it as an owner, because now you're making these people buy more supplies, you know what I'm saying, by destroying it. So very quickly, we sort of put these guardrails up to do that. Yeah. One of the best times that we've ever had, too. Like, I love Minecraft. Love Minecraft.
Well, that's what's interesting, because, like, for me, Minecraft was never a game I got into. It's not something I saw as an easy game to make content on, right? What our viewers are used to Call of Duty, but obviously in that house you guys could have done anything. The fan base is so strong for OpTic that they would watch anything, and I mean, it was a very, very huge, very important decision. I think you guys made, so not just in money, but like transcending into like a different place, collaborating with Syndicate, right? It was a huge thing.
It was personality driven. The second that we got into the house, the Call of Duty sort of took a back seat.
Yeah.
Even though it was the base of the community, the playground. Once I told a community manager for Call of Duty Black Ops 2, I won't say his name because this dude, but and I mean that because like throughout the years, he was just been a prickish, right? Even after that. But he famously told me that OpTic wouldn't be OpTic if it wasn't for Call of Duty. And I said, okay. So that's when we turned the Minecraft thing on, and it made us way bigger immediately because we brought in a completely, thanks to Syndicate, we brought in this completely different audience to what we were doing. And luckily we had people like big timer Nadeshot, obviously excellent creator that attracted the forces. So yeah, a lot of good things.
So that was the driving factor of that comment?
I think so, yeah. I was like, is that? I'm like, I don't think that's true, but if it is true, thank you for letting me know, because I am never gonna be at the whims of somebody else's decisions.
Yeah.
And look at that full circle moment later on in these years.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we could really get into it, but now obviously you're still in Call of Duty. You obviously love Call of Duty, but it's unfortunate. I feel like no shot Call of Duty, and there's been probably so many different people that have cycled through. I don't know anyone at Call of Duty. I never had conversations with people there, but I mean, I remember us in Black Ops 2, like, we wanted a FaZe camo, right? We did Phase 5, one of the biggest recruitment challenges ever. We had like 200,000 people
revolutionary
enter it.
way.
And part of it, the way to enter it was buying some of the new camos and hitting trick shots with it. It's just like, dude, let us, like, we probably got the millions of dollars in sales. Even after all of that, they don't care. Like, they would just like ignore you. They wouldn't even want to give it. We just wanted a face camo.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like years later, they became face skins when the game kind of started going down. You see the same thing with Fortnite. Well, when they're up here, they don't want to work with anyone. When it started going down, they started doing these icon skins. I mean, Ninja was speaking to me about it. How, like, you want to do it as peak? They said no. They come back to him a few years later. It's unfortunate, but it feels like there's always just a couple people in companies.
You can't blame the businessmen for doing business things. That's the.
But I mean, like, is it not better business? It would have been better business to make the collaborations. You don't think so? They would have made infinitely more money. That's the thing. I don't think it's a business. I think it's ego and just
Advanced Warfare was the first time that an OpTic skin and a face skin appeared in the game.
Yeah.
Okay. It was this guy from Denial. Remember the Denial team?
Yeah.
This guy, I don't remember his name. He was the first one that got approached. Hey, we want to do team skins. Like how much would you do it for? And he's like, free.
Yeah.
And I'm like, when they came to me, he's like, hey, all the teams are doing it for free. And I remember calling either Tommy or Banks and saying, like, yo, don't do this for free.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we already committed to doing this. I'm like, no, I'm not doing it for free. And like, you guys are going to be the only team that's not on this. And, like, you should totally reconsider. And I'm like, nah, you're not putting my logo on that. Like, I need to pay my guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, and at the time, all the way up until 2017, 90% of all the money that came in went to the players. Okay. Look at my IRS statements, right? Like, Hector and his family didn't make any significant amount of money, more than 120 for like almost a decade, right? Up until 2017.
Wow.
Because all of it, if we caught a $250,000 deal, Nadeshot had to get a cut, period. And that was because of me. And he, for a very long time, like, he was like, yo, don't, like, if you need to keep some back, like, keep some back. Like, he was cool about it. But I'm like, nah. They're younger. I have to take care of them and that all. And I don't want to paint myself in a super good light, but that is the fact. So I told Activision, I'm like, I'll let you guys put the logo on, but you have to give me, and then I counted the people on my team. Boom, boom, boom. You got to give me 19 white versions of this thing, and nobody else can have them. Only 19 white versions of the exoskeleton. And, the black exoskeleton was released to everybody, but only OpTic people had.
Sick.
Yeah. So I'm like, even from there, I was making sure that we got something more than everybody else, because we're fighting for it. We're doing more than all of them. Not you guys included, but all of them.
Yeah, but we were not as focused in esports. Yeah. So you're right in that sense, for sure you were.
So I'm like, nah. I'm like, you gotta give me something extra. I'm not gonna. I can't. It's unfair to our work. The NFL is 100 years old, give or take. Esports is 10, about to be 15 years old. I mean, truly, if you think about it, it wasn't up until like 2020 that esports actually became a solidified thing. Like, there was the embers were glowing and the fire was like about to start. But it wasn't what it's going to be. You give us 100 years runway the way that you gave NBA and NFL and all that, undisturbed by external factors, and this thing is going to be bigger than all of it. Like the prediction's there, right? Like, it's obvious to see. FaZe has more followers on Instagram than the Cowboys. What does that mean? That means that if you have a T-shirt and they have a T-shirt, who has a larger opportunity to sell that T-shirt? Nobody from Pennsylvania is going to buy Cowboys right? Nobody from Australia is going to buy more cowboy. But FaZe, global. That is global. You're not attached to nothing. The internet has no boundaries. It has no borders, no mountains, no rivers, nothing. It is for the taking. What you guys did, Atlanta FaZe, and still keeping FaZe in there instead of calling, Atlanta whatever.
Yeah.
Like every other team did. That was the right thing to do. That was my recommendation to my board, right? At the time. I wasn't even part of that board.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you're not submitting OpTic Gaming to this league to take OpTic Gaming out of everywhere else.
Yeah.
OpTic, like FaZe, is a wild animal that we don't know what it's going to do. It needs to be everywhere. It needs to develop into whatever it is it's going to be. We don't know what it is.
Yeah.
We have an idea of what we want it to be, but in the end, we don't know.
Yeah.
And for us to take it out of circulation and only keeping it in one spot, that's one of the reasons why I didn't go to when it resold from Infinite to the Immortals. That's one. I'm like, I'm not taking OpTic out of circulation and just putting it in one league. You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy, yeah.
So anyway, it was just done wrong. And no matter how many times we raised our hands and said this is wrong and this is why it's not gonna work, listen to the people that built it. You know what I'm saying?